Hey there, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Bank's Puzzle Theory. Glad to have you back. In this episode, I want to talk about well size. So this genre started with Tetris. So let's start there. First Tetris ever, 10 wide by 20 tall. Game Boy Tetris, 10 by 18. Tetris the Grandmaster series, all 10 by 20 except for TGM Ace for Xbox 360, which is 10 by 22. I'm sure there are variations on different Tetris games, but you get the picture. So let's move on to Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario is interesting. As I mentioned in the first video, it was breaking new ground and doing its own thing. Dr. Mario for NES is 8 wide by 16 tall. Dr. Mario for Game Boy is 8 wide by 15 tall, so one less tile height. Dr. Mario for Game Boy Advance is 8 wide and only 13 tiles tall. Game Boy Advance is very low res, relatively low res, at 240 wide and only 160 pixels tall, whereas the NES has nearly 50% more vertical space at 224 pixels. Dr. Mario for N64 is 8 wide and 16 tall, just like the NES version. Okay, moving on. I just want to quickly mention and go over width. So most of these games that we're talking about in this genre have a two-player verse mode, and in the two-player mode, the well is the same size, the same width as in the single-player mode. So in retro systems, NES and Genesis and etc., where the game width was 256 pixels or 320 pixels, the designers were pretty limited. You're going to need at least 8 pixel border on either side of the playing field in two players, and at least 8 pixels in the middle to separate the fields. So let's say we're at 256 width. That's 256 minus 24. We've got 232 pixels left. Now divide that by 2 for the two play fields, 116 pixels. Now if tiles are 16 pixels wide, 116 divided by 16 is 7.25 or 7. So we could do maximum 7 wide with tiny borders, or 6 wide with normal borders. That's Puyo Puyo. Or, if our tiles are 8 pixels wide, as in Tetris and Dr. Mario, we can do wider. These width issues are somewhat mitigated by HD aspect ratios. There's a lot more space to work with, but at the same time, we really have to think about what we're designing for the player. How wide is too wide? Now let's take a look at Lumines. This is a wide-ass playfield, folks. It obviously doesn't stay the same width in two-player games. So in the original alpha that I showed, it was a 32 by 32 cursor and an 8 by 12 playfield, and I've doubled the size of the playfield and halved the size of the cursor. I don't know, I might go back, but I'm just playing around. These are all temporary placeholder graphics. So you can see you can spin your piece before you place it, then you can place it, and there's no matching code in there yet. So really, these are what is it, 2 by 2 tile pieces. So they're pretty chunky, they're pretty big. And if you look at the FPS counter, you can see, oh, there's a bug. You can see what happens when you've got kind of a bigger board is, oh, there's a super bug. The 2 by 2 falling tiles reminds me of Soldam, and Soldam has a pretty interesting tile width. The well is 10 wide, but it's kind of really 5 wide, because when you move horizontally, it always moves 2 tile width. So it's 1 tile narrower than Puyo Puyo at 6. But in the game I'm developing, the player's cursor moves 1 tile width at a time, not 2. So it's a genuine 12. So like this right here is not possible in Soldam. I'm going to drop some pieces in horizontal position, and then I'm going to move one over and drop another one, and you see half of it fell down and half of it didn't. So there's more granularity, but this is a pretty huge playfield, especially for Sega Genesis, like 16-bit standards. And you can see the FPS counter. I mean, I have to do a lot of optimization, but I think one of the reasons why those old games, aside from the graphics properties, went for 6 wide playfields and such, is because it makes a lot of lag. The game has to do a lot of calculations. Did this piece make a match? And you can optimize it, sure, but sometimes you're going to maybe have to search through the entire board for matches. I mean, maybe not, but You know what I mean? It's going to be if the playfield is 6 wide by 12 tall compared with 12 wide by 24 tall, you're doing probably twice as many calculations. You know what I'm saying, folks? Anyway, this vid's getting crazy long. It's almost the end, and I hope you learned something. I appreciate you watching, and come back again soon. We're going to have the matching implemented, I hope, by the next video. And let's get crazy, folks.